This is Shaun Sport in podcast form.
Well, we know Spain's already into the World Cup final because they beat Sweden. All 3 goals yesterday were scored inside of 10 minutes in the final 10 minutes
The last
of the
10
game.
minutes, crazy.
Yeah, I know. You'd
Real
hate
flurry.
to be on the losing end of that, but the Spaniards are through.
Or you'd hate to if you're there watching it live, have gone to go get drinks at
Oh,
that
yeah,
point.
no.
Because I was like, nothing's really happening.
Oh, this is boring. I've got to go
They're going to
home.
go to extra time.
I got work tomorrow. I better get going.
So Spain scored first, then Sweden, and then Spain got one literally a minute
Minutes
later.
ago. Minutes ago. Yeah, a minute
Minute later
sorry,
and a minute to
later.
go. Oh, crazy.
Yeah, it was a crazy game. There would be nothing better for Australia to meet England, I think, in the World Cup final. That said, we're playing in a
it's not happening.
semi-final.
Yep.
It's amazing. And to think of, all the English we have worldwide, Australia-wide, and for the rest of our nation, the Australians to get behind our Matildas over the next 24 hours in particular, is going to be huge. It's going to be interesting also to see how Australia goes about the starting lineup and whether Sam Kerr will start. It seems like they will keep her on the bench.
It's the super sub. Yeah.
Emily Van Egmont, who was the person who made way for Sam in the 55th minute, came off. She does a particularly good job up forward as well. And we know that Caitlin Ford on the left-hand side has got the speed, she's got the class there.
Well, they definitely
Hayley Rasso over the other side as the wingman's great.
They definitely can do it without her.
Yeah, they've proven
so
that,
then when they
yeah.
bring her on during the game, would that give an extra lift to the players? Because it's like, okay, now we're
seems to.
unleashing like the second tier of what we're about to do.
Yeah, I reckon you're right, Nathan. And because a lot of people are saying she's one of the best players in the world, you've got to have her on from the start. But I think it works well with what you're doing.
Like
Get the rise out of the crowd.
Yeah.
The opposition are on the back foot, aren't they? Here
And then
we
they're
go.
like, okay,
Now we've got someone else to
they
worry
bring
about.
her on.
Yeah.
And if they can score before she comes on, if they're ahead when she comes on, that'll be, it's the nail in the coffin, isn't it?
It's the nail in the coffin, yeah. Mary Fowler, she's been
she's
an
my
absolute
favourite.
freak.
I love her.
And
I've been
she's
reading-
clearly the best young player in the world.
Oh, she's been representing the Matildas since she was 15.
I've been reading a lot about her, and it's really interesting because she said that growing up really in the public eye, not knowing who you are, and especially in sport, was really full on. But she's so famous. To see the Calvin Klein ads and stuff that she did.
Yeah.
She's so famous. The caliber of people that she was doing that with is unbelievable. No one knew any of this stuff about the Matildas before, man. I wonder if we're going to keep this Matildas train going afterwards,
the thing about
or
Mary-
if everyone's going to go back into the cave.
The thing about Mary Fowler is she had a decision to make because she qualifies to play for Ireland as well. Her dad's Irish and technically Papua New Guinea because her mum's Papua New Guinean. So even though she grew up in Cairns, so the Ireland chased her. And we're like, and she said, no, I'm going to play for the Matildas. And it's paid off, definitely.
It's played us off having her in our lineup.
For
She
sure.
is a maestro in that midfield.
Isn't she just?
She's really great. I want to get Sam on here, digital content guru.
I thought you had Sam Kerr waiting in the wings.
Well,
no?
I was going to. And,
Did you just say digital content? Oh, okay, right.
Yes.
Sam. I thought you meant
what did you call
Sam
me?
Kerr. I was like, what?
We're at the point where we'll talk to anybody called Sam.
I honestly thought that you were about to throw to Sam Kerr grab, and I thought, why are you calling it digital content?
Well,
no,
at least
it's our
got-
Sam.
And the reason why I want to get Sam on because he's a very passionate soccer viewer, football
aficionado.
viewer.
Yes.
And first of all, when you saw the Socceroos get up over, who was it that you burst out in tears?
I can't even remember, but it wasn't Morocco. Who was it?
This is good.
Anyway, how are you celebrating?
Great chat so
But
far.
anyway, I think it was maybe like 3 games ago. I was burst into tears. Very emotional day. I reckon even an hour before the game, the tears will already be starting.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how will you watch it? Will you just have to stay in the privacy of your own home, or are you going to go to a live site or a pub or
No,
something?
I'm thinking maybe the HBF Park.
Oh, you're gonna
or,
go there?
Subi Hotel.
Okay.
and have
decide,
like-minded folk around you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because if we get through, that's history that you're experiencing.
Are you going to settle in with the criers, like as you look around for a spot? Are you
Oh
gonna
yeah,
go
I'll look for an
towards
old lady to grab.
Yeah, to go towards the tearful
Be in the-
section.
in the Kleenex
Harry's
one.
just put water.
Was that spit, Harry?
No, you don't want to know what he put on your face just then, but it is dribbling down your cheek.
You've got English roots though, haven't you?
Yeah, my
Are you a
dad's
little bit
English.
torn?
Absolutely not.
No. So this is you're
Get rid of him.
100% behind the Matildas.
100%. It's ours. It's ours.
It's going to be a huge night for all Australians watching this tonight. I'd love to see the viewer numbers too once
gonna
this
be
is all
massive.
done. And let's hope the Matildas get through. Well, former Australian soccer player Grace Gill has been commentating on all the massive games so far in the World Cup. We've been able to see her on the box when Australia's been playing these huge games, and none other than this one tonight. There's no bigger. Grace, good morning.
Good morning to you guys.
Grace, this is unbelievable. The bandwagon that's going to have to get put in for a service after this.
It is, no.
Matilda's World Cup.
She's full the bandwagon, isn't she?
I do. Who was it the other day? Someone, the guy that covers soccer usually. He was calling out the politicians and said any politician, he's taking note of who is publicly supporting the Matildas because turn around and say, well,
how about some funding?
How about some funding?
That's a really good point.
Yeah, absolutely. But what a moment tonight for the Matildas to be taking on England, and no bigger sort of rivalry between these two nations. But for a ticket to the final, so it's just the biggest game I think this group has ever played in.
Well, clearly it is. We've never got this far before, Grace. When you've been watching these last few games, how are the nerves for you just being there watching?
Yeah, it's really quite overwhelming. The stadium noise is something I have never heard before. The roar that sort of ripples across when the girls walk out for the anthems, the kickoffs, every time the Matildas make sort of a driving run forward, the crowd just lifts. Like, the energy is insane. And, of course, the match against France on Saturday night was so tense and so nerve-wracking. And it was, a really difficult one to sit through and to call, but what an amazing result.
Can I say something that I've noticed, which is, at the moment, the whole of Australia is behind the Matildas, right? And they're getting the recognition they deserve. And what's really interesting is the shift of when you look into the crowd and the fans and the people that are, coming out in support of the Matildas on TV and seeing the men wearing Matildas merch. Because think about that 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's a real shift.
Men would not have put on a female sporting team's merchandise. And that's amazing to know that it's not becoming... It's coming out of the phase of women's sport, and it's just...
It's not women supporting women.
No, it's just becoming
everybody
sport.
supporting.
It's not women's sport, it's just sport.
But I think in major things, if we look back, then, we've always followed the success of our swimmers with great pride, and they've always been women. Kathy Freeman, Ash Barty, they're all women who have been striving, and no one's looked at them in a gender thing. It's just been they represent Australia.
Who are you?
No, well, that's true. I think we get caught up in it. Women, all this bullshit. No, I don't agree with that. I think it's been amazing, and we're just all in it, like we have with all the previous champion women that we've followed. You agree with that?
Yes.
It's spot on, and it's so right across the crowd. Young, not just young boys and girls, but every age, sort of through to families, adults, seniors. It's transcended what I think we've seen in sort of sport in Australia for some time. And you sort of say 10 years ago, but I think even sort of 3, 4, 5 years ago, you would have seen very few men wearing Matilda's jerseys. And for the last couple of years, you start to see little boys wearing Sam Kerr jerseys, but now it's just exploded. It's not just Sam Kerr. There's suddenly a list of these Matildas who are household names, and everyone is so, so, so proud to not only wear their jerseys, but to support them. And if they are not one of those 75,000 people at the stadium in Sydney tonight, then they're watching on the telly because they just are so in love with this team.
It's interesting, isn't it? I was reading yesterday, Matilda's Mackenzie Arnold, you can't get her jersey.
Yes,
they haven't done any of the goalies' jerseys.
That's
so
not
all
fair.
the goalies and the World Cup are going, wait, what about us? What about our fans?
She was a star.
I know. Unbelievable.
Don't get me started on that. That's so, anyway.
Yeah, that's
But
crazy.
Mackenzie Arnold, she's amazing. She's an amazing keeper. She's had a wonderful tournament, and what a story she has as well. So she'll be looking to have another huge night tonight. She was phenomenal for the Matildas on Saturday night against France, wasn't she, just?
Oh, the brick wall, extraordinary.
Everyone's been phenomenal.
So the big question, Grace, is will Sam Kerr start, or do you think she should start? What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, it's a great question. Coming into the France game, so going back a few days ago, my take on it was that I didn't think she'd start, and that sort of ended up what happened. I reckon tonight, given the minutes she played against France, so she's looking fitter, she's looking like she's recovered really well from that calf injury. And I recall Tony Gustafsson, the coach, said if Sam is fit and ready to go, she'll start, as in ahead of the France game. She obviously didn't, but I think what we saw from her against France, I think she will start tonight. And even if that doesn't happen, so even if she does start on the bench, we saw the impact she had coming off. So I don't think there's a right or a wrong answer with this one. I think no matter what happens with Sam tonight, it will be such a good impact for the Matildas. So I'm happy either way.
We were talking about it this morning. We were saying it's like getting another recharge from a battery if they play her a little bit later in the game, because the crowd gets up, they feel that.
They do.
Then the opposition are like, wait, there, what
she
what
really
have they, what have they been
bursts on
doing?
too, doesn't she? She gets involved straight away.
So, interesting.
Grace, while we got you, can you tell us what it was like when you were playing over in Europe? I mean, I think in recent years we've seen Sam Kerr be so dominant playing for Chelsea, and you get to play in European Champions League and all this kind of stuff. You were playing over in Europe at the time. How much has it grown in the last few years?
Yeah, huge. I'd say immeasurably, but it's just been such a trajectory in which the women's game over there has exploded, particularly in England, France as well. I was playing in what was the Czech Republic at the time, a smaller footballing nation, but nonetheless, Europe and football are just hand in hand, and it's a one sport continent, really, and they just love football everywhere you go. What we see now in the women who play in England, the women who play in France, Germany, they're fully professional. They're packing out stadiums. They're getting 90,000 to Champions League finals. Like, it's really just come such a long way. And I think coming into our home World Cup, we knew it would be big and we knew we'd get amazing support. But I think what we've seen is crowd attendances, numbers that have perhaps exceeded expectations, because even games that haven't been the Matildas games, neutral games coming up against each other, we've packed out those stadiums as well. Yeah. And it's just such an exciting prospect to think that this is where the sport is up to.
Grace, before we let you go, we need to know, are you in support of the Matildas public holiday if they are to win?
I mean, if it gets the conversation going around it, I'm happy for it. But I think there's more things that are important than a public holiday, and ultimately that's just supporting this team. So if that happens, great. But
if we support the team, can we have a public holiday as well?
Sure, you can have that too.
Thank you.
We want a day off.
Love your work, Grace.
Good on you, Grace.
Good calling tonight. Have a good one.
Thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate it.
Good on you. Be watching 7, everyone. We're certainly swept up in Matilda's fever, just like the rest of the nation. Tal Karp is a former soccer Matilda. She played in the Women's World Cup and also in the Olympics. And Tal, what a moment for Australia at the moment and the Matildas. You must be so pumped about what's been taking place.
I couldn't be more pumped, nor could I be more nervous.
Yeah.
Oh, wait,
we've lost her.
We just lost you.
Amy, was that your fault?
Oh, my gosh.
Okay.
Sorry, Tal. We've just
pressed the wrong button.
You know what I mean? Touch screens, dude.
Sorry, Tal. We just lost you there.
Oh, well, I was just amidst my excitement.
Yes! Give it to us again.
She just told us the results of tonight's game.
Oh, wow. I just have that knack. I was just getting very excited and saying that today is the biggest game in the history of football in this country, and I can't believe the radio airwaves cut us off. We're not that far away. I grew up in WA. It's not that far away in Sydney. Come on.
Mate, there's been there's just POMs circling the stations as we're talking about the Matildas. And those two of them have bolt cutters, so I'm pretty sure that's what's going down.
That's got to be part of it. And aren't they a bit cocky? Have you been reading some of the articles that they've been spitting out overnight and over recent days?
Yeah. So what do you think? Is it warranted? Because, they are a strong side.
They are a strong side. My voice went way too high just then, just out of sheer outrage. Because some of the stuff that they are saying, they think that we are batting above our weight. Like the cockiness, the sheer cockiness of that. Haven't our Matildas shown game in, game out that we have improved and stepped up and taken on the world's best? And we've done that without our world's best player in Sammy Kerr, who hasn't been on the field the whole time. So you know what, English team, I just think you need to watch yourself tonight.
Not just
I'm just saying it right now.
Not just that, though. They forget sometimes that we are a country full of criminals. And we don't care about the law. So if you're being mean to us, we will get you. We won't care about the ramifications.
Shuts up. Yeah, Tal, the quality of the Australian team these days is unquestionable. We've been talking about some of the players and the injection of speed that we have in particular. But one of the things that's been the key to this is the build-up to the World Cup. Australia got the opportunity to play the best teams in the world for a period of time over the last 18 months.
Yeah, including England.
Yeah, and clearly that's helped.
It absolutely has helped. And isn't it nice for us to be able to say that the one loss that the English team has had over the course of 37 games prior to coming to this competition was against us in April. 2-0. Eat that. You know what? We've got form against them.
Eat it, yeah.
Eat that. They'd have curry sauce in it, wouldn't they?
Do you reckon? Maybe. Look, playing against the world's best is really important for our preparation, and hasn't it shown in the performances today?
Yeah, I reckon.
Yeah, Tal, I don't know much about the English side. All I know about is that one player that stomped on the Nigerian girl. How could she? They're talking about her being one of their best players. Is that going to be a big loss for them?
She is a really good player, Lauren James. But the thing is about the English team is they have exceptional depth.
Yeah.
I mean, they weren't the Euro champions for no reason. Each of their players are starting players in key English Premier League or other sides. They have such depth to draw on, which makes them formidable even if they lose one player.
Hey, I want to know, when she did step on that other player, you know you're being watched. What is that? Like, you know what I mean? So,
But you pretend.
Is it a brain snap?
Yeah, because, I mean...
Would you do it? Sometimes you're just angry and you just think you can get away with this. I don't know, you just do it.
What do you think? What do you think, Tal?
Look, the world's eyes certainly were on her. Obviously, it's not FIFA fair play, is it? We don't want players to behave like that. At the same time, she's a young person, and let's let her learn from what was an awful, horrible mistake. No
Don't
one
stand
should
on
do
other
something
people.
Like that.
Yes, when they're lying on the ground.
And you've got to fake it a bit more. Like, she didn't probably put enough GST on it. To
When's the first time you learnt the lesson not to stand on another human when they're lying on the ground?
No, I haven't learned it.
I don't even know where to go with that. I just don't know. Is this when the radio's supposed to cut out? Silence.
Yeah. How do you see this game really going tonight, Tal, if you were to break it down?
Well, let's just start with getting to the pitch in the first place. My nerves are in tatters. I can barely hear. I call it Matilda's ear. The last game was so loud. It was the loudest game in decibels, I understand, at Suncorp Stadium.
Yeah.
Now, up that, 80,000 people at Stadium Australia in Sydney, but all of the fan festivals and the pubs outside, it is going to be so loud. And just imagine stepping onto that field with that level of noise behind you and the adrenaline that might bring. So I think the very beginning of a knockout game, a semi-finals, the biggest game that this team has ever played, is going to very much be to just focus on the simple stuff. They're going to need to, as the Matildas outfit, really deliver on what will be a masterclass in focus, won't it? They're going to need to break down each constituent part of that game and just focus on the task at hand and not let the enormity of the occasion get the better of them. And you know what? I'm really confident in our outfit for tonight. I'm really confident that they will absolutely put it to the English team. Isn't that what you're thinking?
Yeah, but it's what we're hoping anyway.
And what's the score? What's the score going to be?
Well, I need to hear a little bit more excitement in your voices, by the way, when I give you that invitation.
Well, no, because we don't. We you know what I mean.
We're cautiously
We're
optimistic.
cautious. We don't want to get too amongst.
We don't
it.
want to jinx it.
Our Premier said we can't jinx it.
Really? Your Premier said that?
Yeah, because he says he's not going to talk about the public holiday situation because he reckons it'll jinx it. So
Right, interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. So we're all just
Okay.
like, yeah,
We're being careful.
yeah. So give us the winning
Fair
score,
call,
please.
be careful.
Sean's
I
putting
will
a
be
bet on.
careful. Betting is not something we can talk about either, is it? Really, come on.
Unless you've got the right sponsor.
Rightio. Well, look, if I was a betting person, no, we're not going there. I just have this bad feeling about another round of penalties.
Yeah.
I mean, the English team
I know.
faced against Nigeria in those horrific penalties. We had the longest game in the history of the World Cup.
Yeah.
To what I know, 20 penalties.
Yeah.
I just feel like there's going to be some sort of, I don't know, do you call it poetry or just nausea-inducing? I'm not sure. I just feel like it's going to happen again.
I really enjoyed the
okay.
penalties. I thought that was such an amazing thing to watch. That was true. I'm not a big sports person, so for me to be actually on the edge of my seat watching sport was a real thrill for me to experience.
Yeah, it's just as you
I'm
don't want to be
gonna
on the
judge you
wrong
for that.
side of it, do you?
What was that? You're going to jump
No.
in?
I'm going to tell you, you said you enjoyed watching that penalty shootout.
Yeah.
That must mean that you absolutely love pain and trauma.
Yes.
Because that was
He's a
just
psychopath.
nausea-inducing for everybody else.
I do. When I watch like a scary movie, I unlock all my doors and I put the windows open so if there is a murder out there, they can
Leave
try
some
and get
knives
me.
out on the
Yeah.
street.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Hey, Tal, just before we let you go, what was the biggest crowd you played in front of when you were a Matilda?
Well, certainly not 80,000, but 20,000 back in the day felt like a big crowd and a lot of noise. Can you imagine 80K?
Yeah.
It's amazing, isn't it?
That'd be amazing.
But we don't talk about the fact that my World Cup was 20 years ago. I mean, really, I don't look a day older than...
You don't, actually.
No,
I've got to say.
You
the balls
moisturise.
back then weren't carved from wood, weren't they?
Hey, before we go, I've got to do a little shout-out. Folks in Mayland, Tim McDonald, CEO of the YWA, what a legend. It's all about young people, and that's what we're watching on our big screen tonight. Those of you that are not coming to Stadium Australia, it's amazing young people taking on the world. It's a story, I reckon, of overcoming. It's a story of resilience. It's a story of what happens when you give a little bit of investment, a little bit of visibility, a little bit of support to a generation of people that were excluded. When I grew up, I was a token girl playing in my team at Perth Soccer Club. Yeah. Now there are 100 wonderful girls and women playing on multiple teams. Yeah. So look how far we've come. It's bigger than one game. It's there's something much bigger.
Oh, Tal.
And it's only upwards and onwards from here as well. A groundswell of girls getting out and playing soccer after this will be massive.
Yeah. Let's ride it all the way through. This is fantastic, mate. We look forward to a great game tonight. It's so exciting for all of us. And, I'm sure you'll be on the edge of your seat as well. Go Matildas.
Go the Tillies. Love it.
See you, buddy.
Ciao.
See you later.
Shaun Sport is a Nova podcast. For more great comedy shows like this, head to novapodcast.com.au.